What's going on, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of my podcast, Gridiron Talk. I am Will. I am a big fan of football. I just graduated high school, and this is one of the first things I am doing with my life, I guess. I wanted to go to college to be a sports broadcaster, but this is going to be my first step. I am a lifelong Giants fan. I saw them win 2 Super Bowls. Hopefully, we can pull off another miracle season this year. But I'm not alone. I am with my cousin, who is also a lifelong Giants fan, Nick Marciano. Or Marciano, McIntosh.
Hello, everyone out there. Yes, my name is Nick. I am also a lifelong Giants fan. And as Will said, I am his cousin. I've been a fan as long as I can remember of the Giants back in the day when Eli Manning was still the GOAT. Yeah, I don't want to hear any of you arguing with me on that one. It's been a passion of mine, and I think that's why we wanted to do this. We wanted to share with everyone out there our love for the game, maybe give you some tips, just talk about football, just like everyone out there, just shooting the shit, having fun.
This is what this main podcast is for, having fun, talking football. I know we are starting a little bit late. It is week 11 this coming week. I just kind of was on a limb. I was like, you know what? I want to start a podcast. I know we're more than halfway through the season. We got some favorites to win the Super Bowl, but better late than never. So to start the show, just a little rundown, as obviously this is the first episode, we will be giving a little breakdown, a little bit key synopsis of each game, and you'll see what we're talking about when we start discussing each game. And then for the fantasy football players out there, we are going to see each of us are going to give a boom player and a bust player. So obviously, boom, someone you should look to start, and a bust, a player you should probably sit on the bench this week or maybe even drop to the waivers. And at the end of the show, me and Nick will be giving our key game of the week to watch, basically like a game of the week in our opinion. And we will be covering every single game from Thursday to Monday night. So yeah, do you have anything to say off of what I just said, Nick?
I tell you what, I'm ready to go. Let's talk some football and give these fans something to be excited about. Let's go.
All right, man. So the first game, Thursday night, 6-3 teams, two of them, the Cardinals and the Seahawks.
Yeah, this is a fun one. This is really exciting. Thursday night football. We couldn't ask for a better game, especially coming off that DeAndre Hopkins performance. You see that catch?
Oh, God.
Man,
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, so that was one hell of a catch. And I think that kind of leads us into the segue of what we want to talk about this week. Offense is key in this game. So we're going to see DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray, who I think honestly could be the front runner for MVP this season. I don't know. I could just see it. It's Kyler Murray versus Russell Wilson, Hopkins versus Metcalf. I mean, how could you not be excited about this matchup?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I feel like teams with somewhat weaker defenses, obviously Seahawks defense, atrocious.
Yep.
Even though they have two great players of their respective positions with Jamal Adams at safety and Bobby Wagner at linebacker, It's kind of just crazy how bad their defense is. And the Cardinals are the same way. I mean, they got Chandler Jones is out for the year, who is a great pass rusher from Syracuse, coming from New England as well. But it's just kind of odd how bad their defenses are with good players. You know, they got Patrick Patterson, the Cardinals, Buda Baker. Yep. They got Marcus Golden, who is a solid pass rusher from the Giants. But both of their defenses are nothing to write home about. I mean, last week, the Cardinals allowed out 30 points, and if it wasn't for that Hail Mary you talked about, Nick, they would have lost that game against Buffalo. And the Seahawks actually had their best defensive performance of the season last week against the Rams. They only allowed 23 points, but the Rams defense completely stifled the Seahawks, and they still lost. So, like you said, offense is key here. Even the secondary receivers with Tyler Lockett and, I mean, the GOAT, Larry Fitzgerald, that will be a fun matchup too. Somewhat, I don't want to say underwhelming receivers, but Larry Fitzgerald is not how it used to be, and Tyler Lockett is definitely underrated.
Yes.
But
he started the season off so hot, you know, and it's sad to see, but I mean, there's only so many targets to go around. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see him have a decent game this week.
I could see that happening as well. So, Nick, let's go into our boom and bust fantasy-wise, and also just who's down to have a good game for our non-fantasy players. Who are we going to watch? So you go ahead, Nick, with your boom.
Yeah, so my boom player this week, everyone, if you got him on your fantasy team or if you just like seeing a fun player to watch, it's Tyler Lockett. Like I mentioned, he started this season off so hot. I think at one point he had a 55-point game, which is absurd. He's cooled off since. But I mean, I think he's gonna, have a bounce back week here. We talked about the Carolina defense, how they have some holes, and it's been an offensive show. So you're going to see some opportunities out there. And
Do you
I
mean the
think
Seahawks? Because you said the Panthers.
did I say the Panthers? I'm sorry, I meant
You said Carolina.
I'm sorry, I meant the Seahawks. Yeah, you're gonna see some fireworks out there. Either way, you're gonna see fireworks, and I think it's the Tyler Lockett show.
Yeah, and also I would like to point out that Tyler Lockett has very evolved from his in his career, because early on, excuse me, he was a special teamer. He returned kicks, he returned punts, and now he is like a true wide receiver 1 or 2, depending on who you think is better. Personally, I think DK Metcalf is better, but some could argue that Tyler Lockett is better than him, and I agree with you 100%. He's going to probably torch the Seahawks defense. I would assume that Peterson will be on DK Metcalf, so that just makes the Lockett owners even more happy. So look out for Tyler Lockett, because like Nick said, he will be looking for a big game this week.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, who do you got for of the week?
My personal boom, he's on my fantasy team, Russell Wilson. He has been, I don't want to say carrying it, but he is definitely helping my fantasy team a lot. Drafting Saquon first overall and him going down week 2 kind of sucked for me, but Russell Wilson's been picking up the slack real well. He kind of had a bad week in Seattle, obviously in Seattle, against the Rams. He had only 9 points. Actually, Daniel Jones, my backup, performed better than him, which is the first time that's happened this season. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. I need a big game from him. But my key point for Russell Wilson is that he had 32 points, I believe, against the Seahawks or against the Cardinals, and he threw 3 picks. So that's 6 points he potentially lost because he threw interceptions. And I don't think Russell Wilson, he's kind of like Tom Brady. He has one bad game. He doesn't have another one again. He bounces back.
Player, he like you said, he bounces back, and he's a class act. He's one of my favorite athletes in all of sports. He's a great guy.
Yeah, 100%. So, Nick, let's talk about the bust, obviously. Who do you think's in the bust in this game?
All right, so we're going to stick to the Seahawks, and we're going to even stay in the wide receiver core. I actually think it's going to be DK Metcalf. There's potential for him to go out there and have a good game and even get a touchdown and maybe some yards, but he's a deep threat kind of player. You see him go out there, he won't do anything for 3 quarters, and all of a sudden he's got a touchdown. That's because on one play he made a big move, and Russell Wilson found him the ball. I don't like playing guys like that. I'd rather have the guy that gets 15 targets a game and 10 catches than a guy that will only get you 1, 2, 3 catches a game and 1 touchdown. It's possible he has a good game, but I wouldn't trust it. I'd stay away, but that's just me.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. DK Metcalf is a crazy receiver. I'm a big DK Metcalf fan. Been a fan of his since he was in Mississippi. But I agree with you 100%. He is definitely a deep threat only. It's not that he can't do the short routes, but like someone of his physique, someone that's as big as him, he doesn't. Why would
scary looking man?
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that DK Metcalf is probably the biggest receiver in the league. I mean, he's crazy. He's a linebacker, right? Yeah, he definitely could play tight end.
Yeah.
For the Seahawks. And speaking of tight end, my bust this week is Greg Olsen. Now, I imagine kind of an odd pick. I know. I feel like Greg Olsen is mostly on the waivers. You might see him as your backup tight end. Not as good as he used to be in Carolina's Newton's number 1 target. But Greg Olsen is just, there's better options overall on the Seattle offense. There's a lot of mouths to feed. I mean, you got 2 great receivers. You got a solid wide receiver 3 in David Moore. And you got a run game. I don't know if Chris Carson's coming back. I hope he is, for the sake of Chris Carson owners. That's you, Nick. You need him to come back. But my point being is that he just doesn't get a lot of – there's just better receivers around him. So there's almost like no point in throwing to Greg Olsen. But I don't see him having a good game.
I agree.
If I'm wrong, hopefully he can. Greg Olsen's another class act. He's one of those players like you said about Russell Wilson, Nick. he's genuinely well liked. He's not a cocky, arrogant, But let's move on to our picks of the week. Who do we got win this game, Nick, and why?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Arizona winning this game 31-28. I am a huge Cardinals fan. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I love what Kyler Murray's doing this year. Yes, he's a running quarterback, and yes, he's been doing that great. But he's also shown his ability to throw the ball, get out of the pocket, make plays. It's going to be an offensive slugfest, but I see the Cardinals coming out on top. Let's go, baby.
Yep. He's kind of like Lamar Jackson, but can throw better, if I had to describe Kyler Murray.
I agree.
And with better receivers, too. My pick, I'm actually the opposite of Nick. I got the Seattle Seahawks winning 35-30. And I have this common theme or common saying. One of my coaches told me, it's hard to beat a team twice. And the Cardinals beat the Seahawks in overtime. They barely beat them. Almost went to a tie. If they missed that field goal, definitely would have been a tie against the Seahawks. But this Seattle team is no slouch. I feel like their defense needs to definitely pick it up. I don't understand. I don't know why they didn't trade for anybody at the deadline. But hopefully their defense fixes itself. I have them winning 35-30 and another shootout, just like last game on Sunday night. It's going to be another primetime shootout. Simple as that.
I agree completely. Yeah, that's a good analysis. I could see Seattle winning, but we'll see. Who knows?
All right. So that's that. Next game, definitely the true David and Goliath of the week. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, the Steelers are 9-0, undefeated, and the Jaguars have not won a game since week 1. They have lost 8 straight. What do you feel about this game, Nick? I know obviously the Steelers are the clear favorite to win. What do you say about it?
I don't know. This is a tough one. I mean, I love seeing the David and Goliath story where, David comes out on top, but between what, the Steelers are doing right now, they look outstanding. Look what they did last week. I think it was to the Bengals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. They just annihilated them. I was worried about Ben Roethlisberger's health going into that game, even with the COVID stuff going on. But I tell you what, right now, I'm not worried about that at all. I think this team is going to roll. What do you think?
I agree. I know we talked about that too because he was in contact with Vance McDonald, who had COVID, and they were suspecting that he also had COVID. So we're like, whoa, this could be a big blow to the Steelers because if we saw them with Mason Rudolph last year, they were literally the definition of average. So his knee seemed fine because he did take a hit 2 weeks ago. Who was that against? Against the who was it against? My God, I'm drawing the blank. But anyway, Ravens. He took a hit to the knees, and it seemed like it didn't look good. And people were saying that, he might miss some time. But, Big Ben Roethlisberger proves once again why he's called Big Ben. He is durable. And for the Jaguars, sorry, I just drew a blank. Gardner Minshew, what's going on with him? Is he going to play, or is it going to be the Luton show?
I don't know.
I don't know either, man. But who is your boom candidate for this week, Nick?
My boom candidate is the one and only Deontay Johnson. That man, he gets targets, and he is a deep threat similar to DK Metcalf, but he gets those targets. I like to think of him as a combination of deep threat and possession guy. You look what he's been doing all season. There's been a couple games where it's been a little bit suspect, but for the most part, Big Ben has been finding him. Between him, Juju, and the rookie
Claypool.
Chase Claypool. Between those guys, you can't go wrong. And I love what I've seen out of Deontay Johnson so far this season.
Very underrated receiver too. If I put my 2 cents in right there, he's definitely super slept on. And I think their whole receiving core honestly is slept on too, with Juju Smith-Schuster as well and Claypool.
If not the best in the league, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. My boom, very different, but I think it's going to be the Steelers' defense who's going to boom. Their defense and special teams. And this is kind of the obvious choice, man. Like, they're obviously the best defense in the league, and their offense, the Jaguars' offense, is atrocious. They got a good running back, but DJ Chark's also good, but it doesn't matter how good your receivers are if your quarterback is subpar.
Yep.
So I expect the Steelers to maybe get a pick six / fumble recovery touchdown. Definitely going to force some turnovers. And that pass rush led by Cameron Hayward and TJ Watt. Whew,
Yeah.
definitely a defensive player of the year candidate right there. How could I forget the secondary with Minka and Joe Hayden? I mean,
they're elite.
The steel curtain is back, man. All I got to say. Who is your bust for this week, Nick?
So some of you might be a little surprised by this, maybe even get some hate on it, but I'm going to say James Conner. All season, I have not been a fan of his. I know lately he's been pretty good, but he's just inconsistent. Like, you don't know how many carries you're going to get out of him. 1 week it's 5, the next week it's 30. And, that offense has shown that it's Ben Roethlisberger's show, and it's the Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, and Claypool show. So I think he's going to get lost in the sauce, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of him. But, hey, I could be wrong.
And if I had to, before I forget, I will say that Ben Roethlisberger is having a great year. He's definitely a comeback player of the year candidate, along with Alex Smith. Because he's just, look, they're 9-0. How could you deny him?
Yep.
So there's that. I just wanted to put that in there before I forgot. My bust is DJ Chark, who all fantasy season he's been a solid flex option. Geez, for any owners of DJ Chark. But the Steelers' defense is really tough, and he doesn't have a good quarterback thrown to him. Average at best if Gardner does play, but he's kind of in the same situation as Allen Robinson. He's a great receiver. He has talent, but it doesn't matter how good the receiver is if the dude throwing him the ball sucks. So,
100% agree.
All right, Nick, who is your pick to win this game?
So I don't think it's any surprise here. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh, and it's not going to be relatively close. It's going to be 27-10. They're going to light it up.
I'm actually going for the upset bet. I think the Jaguars are going to win 60-0.
Okay.
All right, no, in all seriousness, I think the Steelers are also going to win 24-13. Definitely, if you're betting on the Steelers, then I would put $1,000 that the Steelers are going to win this game. Just saying. I'm confident. All right, next game. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Cleveland Browns. 3-5-1 Eagles after losing to the Giants, and 6-3 the Browns after winning a very defensive game against Houston. Eagles are in the top of the division, not saying much, but the Giants are coming up.
Red man.
Yeah, the Giants are coming up. They're had the same amount of wins. If it wasn't for that tie against the Bengals, the Eagles would be 3-6 right now, and the Giants would be essentially tied with the Eagles. But the Eagles need a win, and they need to win now because their schedule is tough, man. They got to play the Cardinals, the Seahawks. They already played the Ravens, but they got some tough games coming up. So this is a must-win for the Eagles to overtake a weak NFC East. Would you like to say anything else, Nick, on this game?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is a must-win for them if they want to have any chance. Before this past week, everyone thought it was a lock that they're going to be the ones going to the playoffs in the NFC East. No one expects anyone from the NFC East to do anything in the playoffs, but they were supposed to be the lock. And with the Giants winning that game, it throws a screw in the wrench. And a wrench in the screw. You know what I'm saying? But
wrench in the screw.
Yeah. But the one thing I do want to note here is that the Eagles, they're getting healthy at the right time. So, we could see some of their players come back and start making a difference now. All season, we haven't seen them healthy. I don't know if it will make enough of a difference, but it's potentially there to see some Eagles wins show up. I'm also not big on the Browns. I think their record is better than they play. Not a big Baker Mayfield fan, but we'll see.
Yeah, I could see that. They're definitely a run-first team with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And before we go into the boom and bust, I would just like to say Myles Garrett is my clear pick to win the Defensive Player of the Year. He is having an astounding year.
Yeah, he's
proving
going.
Everyone,
man, he is awesome.
Awesome, yeah. Proving everyone why he was taken first for one, and why another potential comeback Player of the Year candidate because he got suspended for that Mason Rudolph helmet hit. Considered retiring from football. Suspended 8 games, and he almost didn't get reinstated. and now he's having arguably definitely the best season of his career. An AP All-Pro, first team defensive player of the year, potentially year. He's just the cornerstone of that Browns defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Nick. So who's your boom for this week?
So for my boom, I'm going to go with Miles Sanders. He's healthy out there. He's rested. I think he actually looked relatively decent against the Giants. I don't know if you knew this, but when he's healthy and he's getting carries, he's averaging over 6 yards per carry this season, which is awesome. Like you couldn't ask for anything more. I think the Penn State standout is going to show us what he can do, and I think he's going to put the Browns in their place.
They sure know how to make running backs at Penn State, right, Nick?
Yeah, man, I tell you what, the fact that he was behind Saquon Barkley, I couldn't imagine having that duo, and it would just be awesome to see.
They won the Rose Bowl, didn't they? Penn State, I think they did.
Yep.
I can see why.
Yeah.
My boom, definitely a unique one, is Alshon Jeffrey. He played last week against the Giants. He was on a limited snap count because he was coming back from injury. And also he only got one target the whole game. But I feel like Alshon Jeffrey will be a potential boom flex candidate. Definitely risky to play, but when Alshon Jeffrey's on the field, the Eagles are better. I mean, this is just plain and simple.
Yep.
He's a very criminally underrated receiver. He's very physical, not DK Metcalf big, but he is a bigger dude. Definitely a physical possession-like receiver. And Carson Wentz needs him back because he is definitely having a bad year, Carson Wentz. And he could use Alshon Jeffrey back ASAP up to his old health when they won the Super Bowl. All right, Nick, let's get into the bust right now. Who do you think's in the bust this week?
Baker Mayfield. Oh, gosh, I do not like Baker Mayfield. I will make sure everyone knows that. I don't think he's a good quarterback. If you watch his footwork, I don't think he knows how to plant his feet when he throws the ball. And I think the Eagles are so desperate right now that they're going to do everything they can to get to him and bring him down. I could see him having a real bad game.
Mm-hmm. My bust is Jarvis Juice Landry. I feel like that Jarvis Landry is, with OBJ out, definitely the clear number one target in Cleveland. But I just feel like Darius Slay will lock him up. I don't think Jarvis Landry will get anything done. Plus, as well as that the Browns are a run-first team with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So, Nick, let's get into the picks of the week. Or not the week, of this game. Who do you got winning this game and why?
I have the Eagles winning this game, 21-13. I think I've mentioned it a few times now. They're desperate. They need a win if they want to stay in the hunt for the NFC East, the very sad NFC East. They need to win this game, and I think they're going to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm. My pick is the opposite. I think that the Browns are going to win this game 24-17. I just feel like the duo of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb will just demolish the Eagles. I got them winning 24-17. I don't know if I'm repeating myself. I apologize. But, yeah, I just think the Eagles are definitely not in they need to win this game, but I just think the Browns are simply better.
I agree.
Here we go. Next game, Atlanta versus New Orleans. The Falcons are 3-6, and the Saints are 7-2. Nick, let's get started on this game.
Oh, man. All right. So the Saints, they're a better team. They just are.
Wait. Can I intervene for a second?
You sure can.
Let me just say that when me and Nick wrote this script, this was before Drew Brees got hurt. So we most of our predictions are based on that. We did go over it a little bit, Drew Brees' injury. Me and Nick think the opposite of this. He thinks it won't affect them a lot because Jameis Winston is still a somewhat good quarterback. And I am the complete opposite. I still think that the Saints are going to struggle without Drew Brees. But just taking precaution that we wrote this with Drew Brees before he got hurt. But continue, Nick.
Drew Brees is an elite, Hall of Fame, once-in-a-generation quarterback that I will always hold a special place in my heart for. Having said that, Jameis Winston, he can sling the ball. He'll throw a ton of interceptions. There's no doubt. He'll probably throw 3 or 4 this game, but he'll also throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. I think the Saints offense is going to put up big numbers. I think they're going to get a lot of touchdowns, and I think they're still going to win this game. But that's just me. Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and also about Jameis Winston, two things. One, he is definitely the true definition of a gunslinger.
Mm-hmm.
I know people say Aaron Rodgers is, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw picks in era. Winston does, almost like yin and yang. They're just complete
Yep.
opposite in the fact of their gunslinger archetype. And Jameis Winston, people forget he threw for 5,000 yards last year, which isn't easy. So there is definitely talent there, and I feel like if Jameis Winston did not throw interceptions, he would be a top 10 quarterback in the league, no question.
Yep.
And he could definitely start somewhere on a QB needy team, potentially the Patriots if they move on from Cam Newton, but that's another story for another day. But my point being is that he is definitely a starting QB caliber player.
Absolutely.
All right, Nick. So let's get into the booms and the busts of the week. Who do you think's in the boom and why?
All right. So my boom of the week, it's an easy one. It's swing for a home run. No problem on this one. I'm going Alvin Kamara. He's a top 2 running back in the league. And this is why I don't think Jameis Winston and the Saints are going to struggle. Because all he's got to do is dump it off to Alvin Kamara, and he'll go 100 yards every single time. He's a freak. They're going to get a lot of points. He's going to get a lot of yards. It's a lock. You guys play Alvin Kamara.
He was the top scoring running back in fantasy this week, and the reason why I lost my game last week was Alvin Kamara. So thank you, Alvin. My original boom was Drew Brees because it's Drew Brees, but since he got hurt, I switched it to Julio Jones. I don't know why people are forgetting Julio Jones. Man, they mention good receivers. They say Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams. It's just like, what about Julio, man? I mean, he's great. How could you say otherwise? He doesn't get touchdowns. That's because he's double teamed all the time.
Yep.
But what did you say, Nick? I'm sorry.
I just said I like that pick.
Yeah. With him and Calvin Ridley, and I remember when we were watching the draft, you said Calvin Ridley is because I remember you said that he wasn't very good, and he's proven you wrong, man. Let me tell you.
Oh yes, he has.
But where this is the Julio Jones showcase, not the Calvin Ridley one, I just think he will just ball out. The Matty Ice and Julio Jones combo will be back in full force, and the Falcons are pull off an upset and much-needed wins to beat the Saints. But who are our busts this week before we give our picks?
My bust of the week is Todd Gurley. I think that team, in order to stay in this game, they're going to have to abandon the run. If you watch what Todd Gurley has been doing when he's had decent games, it's because he's gotten a lot of touches and he found the end zone. I don't see them doing that this week. I think it's going to have to be Matt Ryan just balling out if they want to stay in. Julio Jones show, Calvin Ridley, who be it. I don't think it'll be Todd Gurley.
Mm-hmm. My bust is Emmanuel Sanders. I think with Thomas being back full time, his targets are going to go down a lot. But Emmanuel Sanders is definitely a good receiver. Don't get me wrong, but just not the fantasy type. He was a good flex pick maybe when Thomas was out, but like I said, with Thomas being back in full force, I just feel like he's just not a good pick.
Yeah, I agree completely.
So let's get into our picks of the week. Nick, who do you got and why?
So my pick for this game, I'm going with New Orleans, 28-14. Like I said, I don't see the Drew Brees injury affecting them too much. I think they're still going to be able to put up numbers, and I'm excited to see what they do.
My pick is 27-21 Atlanta. Again, before Drew Brees got hurt, I thought they would win, but I feel like the Saints are going to lose this game. I think Drew Brees is their rock. Don't get me wrong, like I said, Winston's good, but Drew Brees is once in a generation type quarterback. Like I said, 27-21 Atlanta. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Matty Ice, and Hayden Hurst. The big three of the passing game will lead them to victory. All right, let's get into our next game. Definitely two teams who are underperforming. They kind of are expected to underperform. And we're going to see the number 1 and number 2 draft pick, first and second overall, going at it with Joe Burrow and Chase Young as the Bengals visit the Washington football team. What do you think about this one, Nick?
Oh, man. So this is going to be Joe Burrow's show. I think he's shown that he can go out there and he can sling it with the best of us, or with the best of them. I don't see the offense for Washington, especially. I like Alex Smith. I'm a fan of him. I'm glad he's been able to come back, but it's just I don't see the offense there. I think it's going to be Joe Burrow showing that he can go out there and he can play. I think it's time for people to start putting some respect on Joe Burrow's name.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I will say, though, that the Washington football team, they do have a very good pass rush. That definitely very underrated, especially with Chase Young at helm. But their pass rush is no slouch, especially for us Cincinnati's weak offensive line.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, Nick, who was your boom and who is your bust for this week?
So my boom for this week, I'm going to go with Tyler Boyd. I think Joe Burrows is going to find his top target against a very poor secondary. I like Boyd, what he's done all season. And I think it's going to be his time to shine, and I think he's going to do it no problem. So who do you got for
me? I'm going to wind back the clock a little bit. Let's go flashback 2011. I'm going to say AJ Green. He definitely underperforming. He is older, but we got to remember when AJ Green was in his prime, he was the top 2 receiver with Antonio Brown. And I feel like I don't think he'll stay in Cincinnati after this year. I think he'll sign somewhere else, maybe the Patriots. But again, another discussion for another day. Because him and Joe Burrow don't really click. I think what you said is completely true. I think Tyler Boyd and Auden Tate, to a lesser extent, and T. Higgins. Those 3 will be the Bengals receiving core moving on. But I feel like AJ Green will wind back the clock this game and show us prime AJ Green against a weaker Washington secondary.
Yeah.
What about the bust, Nick?
My bust for this week, I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson. I love the rookie, everything he's done all season. He's been great. But similar to what I said earlier with Todd Gurley, I think they're going to have to abandon the run here, and I think they're going to have to air it out. I don't think he's going to get the opportunities. Maybe he'll get the touches in the passing game, but other than that, I don't see it.
My bust is scary Terry McLaurin. Might be a little bit odd, but I feel like he is due for a bad game. I could be proven wrong because I do like Terry McLaurin. I think he's pretty underrated. I think he's in the Allen Robinson situation where he's a good receiver on a bad team. But I just think he'll have a bad game this game.
Could see it. Yeah.
All right. Who is your pick to win this game, Nick?
I'm going Bengals 21-7. I think they're the better team. I know the records don't show that they're much better, but I like the team. I like Burrows. They're young, and it should be fun.
My pick to win is 20-10. Also going with Cincinnati over Washington. Again, I disagree with what Nick said. They're just a young team. They are better. Their offense is legit. And how can we forget about Joe Mixon, too, a running back, too? So, yeah, there's that. They just got a better offense, just overall better team. Next up, another game where the records don't really reflect how good these teams are. Detroit and Carolina. 4-5 Detroit and 3-7 Carolina. Nick, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, man. Yeah. So the records, I think that they do not show how good these teams are. I like the Panthers. They have a legit offense. I like the Lions too. Are we going to see Galladay come back and finally come back and play strong, or is he going to stay on what I would call TJ Galladay? Holiday, stay out on holiday. But we'll see. Is this the game where we finally see the Panthers come back to life? Curtis Samuel's been awesome. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, a big factor of this is, will Teddy Bridgewater play because he got hurt at the end of the Buccaneers game last week? And will Matt Stafford play because I don't know if he had COVID or he was on the COVID list. He couldn't practice. Against the Vikings, Matt Stafford did not practice at all. But hopefully Stafford stays healthy, COVID-wise. Hopefully he doesn't get sick. And hopefully Teddy Bridgewater plays because he had a leg injury. Everyone knowing Teddy Bridgewater's history had that awful injury with Minnesota. And I'm just very thankful Teddy Bridgewater is playing again because most of us did not think he would play ever again.
Yeah,
but let's hope he plays. I think he will because they're saying that the injury is not serious. He'll just wear a brace and he'll be good, but you always got to take that risk. But yeah, who do you think's gonna boom this game, Nick?
Boom of the week, I'm going with Curtis Samuel. He's Teddy's favorite target. target. So if he's out there, I'm sure Teddy's going to be looking for him. Even if he's not, he's proven that he's the number one, in my opinion, not DJ Moore, who everyone thought was the guy. We'll see what happens, but I'm excited to see what Curtis Samuel can go out there and do.
Guys, if you just listened, Nick just said Robbie Anderson doesn't exist, man. What's going on with that, man?
Who's Robbie Anderson? I don't
He's still on the Jets, right?
Yeah, I think so. Adam Gase?
But I did not touch on that point. Real quick, let me just say Robbie Anderson having a career year in Carolina. I'm a big Robbie Anderson fan. I have him in fantasy. I picked him up late. But I love Robbie Anderson. I feel like one of those players where he leaves the Jets and he has a career year. But the three of them combined make a great underrated receiving core. I say that Curtis Samuel is the number 3. I still think DJ Moore is better than him, but again, my opinion. But before I get in my boom, let's just say that one of those 3 guys, probably not Anderson, but either Samuel or Moore, definitely could be traded to a wide receiver needed team for a defensive piece for the Panthers. Like, I don't know, trade one of them for Stephon Gilmore or something.
Yeah.
Because both teams need the Patriots need receivers and the Panthers need defense. But my boom is TJ Hawkinson, great blocker, tight end. He's like a mini version of George Kittle, I would say. He's a great blocker, great receiver, overall just a great overall solid, reliable tight end. Definitely the best tight end from last year's draft, and it's kind of sucks that he was hurt all last year. I think he played 2 games, and then he was out.
Yeah.
But definitely criminally underrated. A lot of mouths to feed on that offense, but if Galladay is out, then I think he will be the clear number 1 favorite for Stafford's number 1 target.
I agree. I'm a big fan of TJ Hawkinson. I have him in one of my leagues, and for the most part all season, I have not been disappointed.
Yep, like I said, very reliable. Catches a lot of touchdowns too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Nick, who is your bust this week and why?
My bust is DJ Moore, the guy on the other side of Curtis Samuel. You know, I like him. I like DJ Moore, but I was very high on him in the preseason. Well, the lack of preseason, but the offseason, I guess you could say. I thought he was going to be the go-to guy, and he's just been underperforming. I don't think he's having that great of a year. And who knows, with Teddy Bridgewater out, what's that going to do to the receiving core? We'll see. I mean, who knows?
My bust is Marvin Jones Jr., who going into the season was their clear number 2. But with Galladay out, Matt Stafford chose Marvin Hall. He is the younger Stafford. Jones. I think getting older, obviously, not in his glory days with Cincinnati, or just like when he was younger on the Bengals. Or not the Bengals, my fault, Lions. And I think he's getting replaced. I mean, you got Danny Amendola in the slot, got Marvin Hall, you got TJ Hawkinson, and as talented as he is, he just has better younger receivers to throw to Matt Stafford.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, before I forget, we were considering McCaffrey as our booms, but we don't know if he's playing yet because he has a shoulder injury. But if Christian McCaffrey is playing, obviously he's a must start in fantasy. So just have that out there. If he plays.
Yeah, we'll see.
So who's your pick to win in line, Nick?
I'm going with Carolina in this game, 31-24. I don't see the Teddy Bridgewater injury factoring into the game that much. I still think they have enough talent on the team to win this game without him. We'll see, though. I'm a big fan of, like I said, Curtis Samuel. If Christian McCaffrey does come out there and he does play, I think it's just that much more of a chance for them to win. But either way, 31-24 Carolina.
I got 30-28 Carolina. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than Nick's saying, but definitely 2 underrated offenses. If Bridgewater doesn't play, it might sway in favor of Detroit, but as of now, I got, like I said, 30-28 Carolina. All right, let's get into the next game. The Tennessee Titans against Mr. Big Trust, woo-woo, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Both teams are 6-3. Both teams are coming off 2 unexpected losses, in my opinion. Both losing in primetime, too, with the Titans losing to the Colts and the Ravens losing to Cam Newton and the Patriots. So let's give our thoughts on this, Nick. Go right ahead. What do you think is going to be a key point to watching this one?
Yeah, so both of these teams need a bounce-back win. I think they're showing that maybe they aren't as dominant as they have been weeks past. And I think it's important to note here, this is a rematch from last year's divisional game. So we'll see, is this still the same Lamar Jackson we saw last year? Or is this what we saw last week, the new and expected Baltimore Ravens team?
Oh, wait, you said the divisional game. You mean when Derrick Henry made Earl Thomas his lead blocker? Is that what you're saying?
I do mean that.
He basically made him leave the Ravens to an extent. The King Henry show?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with Nick 100%. I don't think the Ravens really got any pieces to stop Derrick Henry. I mean, they got Campbell and they got Ngakwe and they got Patrick Queen, that rookie. But besides that, I mean, they don't have a. I think they're just going to get smoked, man. I mean, by Derrick Henry, I don't think it's going to be as bad as a blowout, but I don't know, man. I just feel like the Ravens. It's like their kryptonite. It's like Derrick Henry because he beat them. I think the Ravens. When they lost, when Lamar was a rookie and they lost, I feel like that was the same principle their loss too as their run defense. I mean, I could be wrong. That was 2 years ago. I could just be blowing smoke out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure their run defense has always been like suspect. It's their secondary we talk about with Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
But anyway, who is your boom for this week, Nick?
My boom, I'm going to go with Corey Davis. I think overall he's having a good season. And I think the thing with Corey Davis all his career was he just needed a number one receiver out there. Now that they have A.J. Brown, I think they finally have that. I think that Corey Davis is a Robin, and I think A.J. Brown is a Batman. And now that he has his Batman, he can finally be the Robin he's supposed to.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that at all. He was taken somewhat very high, not somewhat high, very high. Top 10 pick out of Western Michigan. He's just been very average. But he is definitely a good wide receiver too. And I think, like you said, Nick, he has a great season, will continue. Yep. Even though we'll have Marcus Peters or Marlon Humphrey on him. My boom, King Henry, Derrick himself. And I have a couple things to say. 2020 AFC divisional game. I just don't see the Ravens stopping him. I mean, if I'm wrong, then I hope they prove me wrong. But, I mean, he's just a workhorse running back, and they play very old school football. So, we don't really see that nowadays. Titans are proving it still works.
Yeah.
So, what about your boss, Nick?
Going with Lamar Jackson here. He statistically, from what he did last year, obviously he's going to not have as good a year as he did last year, but he's having a down year. I think the defenses are figuring him out. They run what seems like 5 plays, and the defenses are ready for it. So I see that continuing here.
Yeah. Yeah, and Lamar himself said that he feels like defenses are reading their plays. He himself said that.
Yep.
My bust is Marquise Hollywood Brown. I feel like he is just an average receiver at best. I kind of feel like he's in the Corey Davis situation where he needs a true wide receiver one to really show sidekick-esque abilities. But he should not be the primary target of Lamar Jackson. And it sucks because his best receiver is Mark Andrews, who obviously is a tight end.
Yeah.
Who is your pick to win, Nick, this week and why against the Titans and Ravens?
I'm going with the Titans 21-17 here. I like the Titans overall. I think that Derrick Henry is a great player. I think they're going to run the ball all over the Ravens. And I think that, I don't see Lamar Jackson having it this year. And I'm a big fan of the Titans, and I think it's going to continue.
Yeah. My pick is also the Titans. I got them winning 20-14. I think it's, like I said last year with the divisional game, I feel like the Titans are going to win somewhat easily. I don't think they're going to blow them out like last year, though, but I don't really see how the Titans could lose this game after what happened. And the Ravens are somewhat struggling, and the Titans are going to bounce back good. And it's a good team.
I agree.
All right, next game. The Patriots, who are 4-5, against the Houston Texans, who are 2-7. Let me get a start off on this one, Nick, and let me just say this is going to be a battle of 2 national championship winning quarterbacks, Cam Newton and Deshaun Watson. And it's going to be fun to watch. No question about it. We're going to see 2 teams who the Patriots are better than their record shows, and the Texans are, I wouldn't say that because they traded DeAndre Hopkins. but these two teams desperately need a win. The Texans have in the past have shown that like they start off slow, but they go on a hot run and they win the division or they become a wild card team. The Patriots, on the other hand, they've won 2 in a row. Like we said with the Ravens last I guess, topic or section. The Patriots pull off an upset, and now they're looking to win their 3rd game in a row. So these two teams need to win. Obviously, I don't think they'll win their divisions, but these two teams could definitely be a wild card team, especially with the inclusion of the 7th seed this year. What do you say about this, Nick?
Yeah, so I actually kind of think the opposite. I think the Texans are better than their record shows. I think that since they fired Bill O'Brien, they're all doing better. You know, I know they lost. I think they lost this past week, but I think that they're just a better team. I like Deshaun Watson here. You know my opinion on Cam Newton. Not a fan of his. I don't think he can throw the ball, but I mean, I guess we'll see.
If there's 2 quarterbacks Nick hates, listeners, you'll know it's Cam Newton and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm not a fan of his, and I like what Deshaun Watson's done. Will Fuller, you know, I think they're a better team than 2-7.
Who's your boom this week, Nick?
So my boom of the week is Will Fuller. I think he's going to have a good game. You know, he's having a great year. I think he's carrying the offense behind Deshaun Watson. And Brandon Cooks have been awesome. We'll see, but I'm excited to see what he can do.
My boom is going to be the 2015 MVP Cam Newton. I think he needs a big game for his legacy. He needs to prove to people that I am still a top 10 quarterback in the league. I am still elite, and I think he'll prove to the viewers of this game that he is still a bad man, as Stephen A. Smith says, bad man. So let me. But yeah, I think Cam Newton will win this game somewhat easily. I think this will be his game where he doesn't rush for 3 touchdowns. He throws for 3 touchdowns, ladies and gentlemen. Bold pick, I know, right? Now, who was your bust, Nick?
It's funny that you mentioned Cam Newton as your boom because I'm going with him as my bust. Cam Newton cannot hit the broadside of a barn with a beach ball. And I can't see him throwing 3 touchdowns. I can't see him throwing 1 touchdown. The dude is a linebacker playing running back and playing quarterback. I can't see it.
My bust is N'Keal Harry, receiver for the Patriots. I think he's been a bust ever since he was drafted last year. He was taken before Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and the Patriots, that's probably going to bite them in the ass in the long run because they need receivers. They're looking into free agency route. And not to mention that Jacoby Myers has essentially replaced N'Keal Harry as the wide receiver 1, with Julian Edelman being out due to his, I think it was leg injury or an ankle injury. But yeah, I think N'Keal Harry will have another bad game like he's been having a bad year.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, who was your pick to win this game, Nick, and why?
I like the Texans. I want them to win. I think they're going to show that they're a better team since they got rid of Bill O'Brien. I think they're going to win here 31-24.
I think the Patriots are going to win 27-17. Like I said, I think Cam Newton will have the best game of his year against a somewhat weak Texans defense. And the Patriots are just going to have a somewhat easy victory. Okay. All right, let's get into the next one. The Miami Dolphins at 6-3 and the Broncos at 3-6. Tua time. They have not lost since Tua Tagovailoa has been the quarterback. Nick, what's your thoughts on that?
I love the Dolphins this year. They are so fun. That defense is legit. I think they might be up there with the best defense in the league right now. They're playing hotter than anyone, that's for sure. I love what Tua's been doing. I was against them benching Fitzpatrick when it first happened because I thought they were playing well. But now I get it, and I'm okay with it. They are playing the best football in the league right now, and it's exciting to see.
They're on a little win streak as well, the Dolphins. Yep. And a potential sleeper, the Bills lost their game against the Cardinals. And if the Dolphins win this game, I believe they'll be a half a game behind or maybe tied. I think the Bills have won. They're 7-3. So yeah, I think they'll be tied with the Bills for first, which is crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Definitely a sleeper pick to win the division as well as be a wild card team. But I was on a benching Fitz. I was against them drafting Tua altogether. I didn't think Tua, coming off of that bad hip injury, I didn't think he would be. I thought he'd be a bust. I'm gonna be simple. I thought Herbert, Burrow, even Jordan Love, even Jalen Hurts was better than Tua. He's proven me wrong. He has taken the role of a game manager very well, I would say. I don't think he's turned the ball over once. And he had a shaky first game. He only threw one touchdown, a little bit over 100 yards. But ever since then, man, he's been playing decently well, I would say. Definitely surprising me. I don't think he's better than Herbert or Burrow, but he's winning games, man. And he's proving why he was taken top 10. So,
yeah, I could see that. I really could. And speaking of which, I think that carries right into my pick for boom of the week. I'm going with Tua Tagovailoa because if he didn't have the injuries that were going on, I think he would have been the number one overall pick in this past draft. I think he's that good of a quarterback. He's got that nice of a touch. And I think he's due to have that breakout and just show everyone how legit of a passer and an athlete he is.
Mm-hmm. My boom is also a player for the Dolphins is Devontae Parker, who's due for a good game. I think the Broncos secondary has gotten a lot weaker, especially with Chris Harris Jr. leaving for LA. And I feel like AJ Bouye just won't do much against Devontae Parker. He's a good corner, but Devontae Parker, I feel like, is younger and just will burn him. Excuse me. But yeah, let's get into the bust of the week. And coincidentally, we both have Broncos players, understandably, against a tough defense. But go ahead, Nick, into your bust.
So my bust, it's going to be Jerry Jeudy. I think Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, I think they're going to lock him up. He's the number one target. I can't see anyone putting up any kind of numbers right now against the hottest defense in the league.
Excuse me. But yeah, I agree. I think the Broncos offense has been struggling without Cortland Sutton. And my bust is Drew Lock. No pun intended. I think he'll get locked up by the Miami Dolphins defense. I think, like Nick said, they were the hottest defense. I don't think the Chiefs could really perform well against the Dolphins. I know that's a really bold take, but I'll stand by it. This defense is legit.
Yep.
So let's get into our picks. Who do you got win this game, Nick, and why?
I got Miami winning this one 17-3. I can't see the Broncos scoring anything, and I think that Miami will do enough to put up some numbers, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I got I almost said the Broncos. I got the Dolphins winning as well, 17-6. I just agree with everything Nick said. Their defense the Dolphins' defense is legit. Offense is a little bit, I don't want to say sketchy, but dependent on how good Tua is. If Tua does good, their offense will be insane. But if he plays conservatively as a game, then obviously they won't be putting up enough points. But we'll see.
Yep.
All right, man. The clear pick game of the week. No, I'm kidding. The New York Jets and the LA Chargers.
Wah, wah, wah.
Will the Jets ever win? Will Adam Gase get fired? Who knows in New York? I thought the Giants were bad before we got in this little streak, but man, the Jets are making us look like the Chiefs, man. Why won't they fire Adam Gase? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know what's going on with their general manager, why they won't get rid of Gase. I don't know if they're in full-on tank mode or if they're just bad. All that I do know is that if I was Trevor Lawrence, I would not declare for the NFL draft this year. I would come back to Clemson for 1 year.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I feel like the Jets are just an awful football team. I'll be like Stephen A. They're a disgrace. They shouldn't be in the league. I don't know why they're in the league, but they're awful. I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. And it's crazy. And the Chargers, I mean, we're not even talking about the Chargers, but the Chargers are better than their record shows. They are one of the few teams that, like, I saw this thing on, I think, ESPN or SportsCenter. There's only two teams in the league that have not lost by one score or more. And that's the Steelers, who haven't lost, and the Chargers. Every single one of the Chargers' losses has been by one score. Their biggest loss was to the Patriots, the Buccaneers, 38-31. Every other game. Oh, wait, no, I think they lost to the Dolphins by 8, 21-29. But still, my point proves that they are losing their games because their defense can't close them out.
Yep.
They're better than their record shows, 110%.
Absolutely.
Who will be your boom pick for this?
Oh, man, my boom is Keenan Allen. The season this guy is having, if you have him in fantasy, you start him, you play him, you love him, you hold him. He is amazing, and he is going to torch the Jets. They are so bad. You play him.
My boom is the Oregon product himself, Justin Herbert, Herbermania, Herbster, Herb Street, just like Kirk Herbstreit on ESPN college football. How can you deny? I mean, arguably the rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year. I think Joe Burrow personally, but I could definitely see it going to Herbert. But kind of like what Nick said, who's going to stop him? Who will stop Justin Herbert? He'll have all day to throw. Again, even though their line's bad, they have no one on defense. Allen is going to torch him. Hunter Henry is going to torch him. And Mike Williams is going to torch him. Like, this defense is about to get destroyed by underrated offense.
Absolutely.
And who was your bust pick for this week, Nick?
So for the bust here, I wanted to say the entire Jets organization, including Adam Gase and their owners, but I couldn't do that. So I just said the Jets defense and their special teams. They're in full-on tank mode. I guess they're going for Trevor Lawrence, but it's just a disgrace and awful to watch.
The question that asked Jets fans is, how pissed will they be if he does not declare for the draft and they get the number 1 overall pick, and who are they drafting?
Oh man, that would be so depressing for them.
Who are they drafting, man? They're going to draft Mac Jones?
They'll probably take the quarterback. What's his name? Zach Wilson from BYU.
Oh yeah.
We'll see though.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
But my bust is Jamison Crowder. One of the few bright spots on the Jets. I would say Avery Williamson, but they traded him to the Steelers. He is definitely a good receiver, but against the Chargers defense, their defense is actually really good. I know they've been blowing games, but man, they got Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Chris Harris Jr., Casey Hayward. I know he's hurt, but Derwin James when healthy, and a solid safety in Nasir Adderley. This is a good defense, and they should not be blowing leads like they are.
Yep.
But I feel like Jamison Crowder will get locked up by their defense, in particular Casey Hayward and Chris Harris Jr.
I agree.
Who's your pick to win, Nick, and why?
I'm going with the Chargers here. I'm giving them a score of 21-9. I think the fact that I gave the Jets 9 points in this game is being very generous to them. I'm trying to be nice to Jets fans, but that's what I got, 21-9.
I say 35-10. Maybe they get a fumble recovery or a pick six, or maybe Frank Gore gets a lucky touchdown. But I think the Chargers are just going to torch the Jets. This should not be a game at all. But I will say, I feel like this is going to be, if the Jets do win the game, I don't know the rest of their schedule. Let me pull it up real quick. But this is their one game. It's like, this is your one chance before you go 0-16, man. Like, if you want to win, it's now. So who are the Jets got on their schedule? Oh, yeah, look at this. They got the total yards per game. They're dead last in offense, dead last in passing yards, and 27th in rushing yards. So this is bad. But yeah, they got the Chargers, Miami, Las Vegas, Seattle, New England, Cleveland, and the LA Rams. So yeah, this is definitely their most winnable game.
Yep.
So let's hope they win so they don't go 0-16. Am I right?
I agree.
So yeah, let's get into our next game. The Green Bay Packers at 7-2 and the Indianapolis Colts at 6-3. Both in their division leads. Obviously, the NFC North for the Packers and the AFC South for the Colts. The Colts beat the Titans on primetime, and they need to keep their lead up because they're. Sorry, I'm blanking. They're tied. So, and they had the tiebreaker over the Titans, but they can't miss a step. They can't miss a beat because the Titans are right on them. So, Nick, you start this segment on the Packers and the Colts, and just give us your brief. What's going to happen? Who's going to win?
This is a great game. All right, so we got a great offense here in the Packers playing a great defense in the Colts. We know that we're going into it. These are two Hall of Fame quarterbacks potentially playing against each other. Potentially playing against each other for the last time. We'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers and Phillip Rivers. Who knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back next year? They drafted Jordan Love. We'll see what happens there. Having said that, we know that some of these guys are going to get their touches, even though the Colts have such a great team. We know that some of the offensive guys like Devontae Adams, he's going to get his. See what happens, but this is a good one, man. I tell you what.
Yeah, I mean, this would be a lot better if Old Man Rivers wasn't regressing hard. If this was 10 years ago, I'd be like, whoa, this is going to be like potentially Brady Rodgers hype. But I feel like Phillip Rivers, this most likely will be his last season. Not getting talked about as much as, like, let's say Drew Brees. I know people are saying this is his final year as well because he just isn't as successful as Drew Brees or Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger. But I feel like Phillip Rivers is the Dan Marino kind of this generation. Didn't win any MVPs, but definitely never won a Super Bowl, obviously, and very underrated. Definitely a Hall of Fame player. He's kind of like Matt Ryan in that regard, where he never won a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan most likely will not. I don't see the Falcons winning one, but Phillip Rivers definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Been underrated his whole career, but I don't see the Colts as much as their defense is good. Their offense is just kind of bad.
Yeah.
Even though they got Phillip Rivers, they got T.Y. Hilton, they got if it wasn't for James Robinson, I would say personally the best rookie running back, and Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin, who has been solid for them with the injury to Marlon Mack. And the fact that they have a good running game is basically why the offense is so good, because they had Marlon Mack, he was injured, and they have Nyheim Hines, I think that's his name. And then they had Jonathan Taylor, and that's what's keeping their offense afloat. But yeah, that's that. Oh, and also before I forget, Michael Pittman Jr. having a great year as a rookie receiver.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one more point about Phillip Rivers before we go into our booms. You would think they would have a better passing game with T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman Jr., Jack Doyle, and Trey Burton, but it's just not clicking.
Yeah, I agree. For some reason, it's not there.
So, Nick, who do you got booming this week and why?
I'm going with Devontae Adams. He's been lighting it up all season. He's shown he is elite, if not the most elite. I know the Colts defense is great, but no matter what, Devontae Adams is going to get his from Aaron Rodgers.
Speaking of Aaron, I got Aaron Jones as my boom of the week. Kind of the same thing that Nick said. He's been lighting it up all year. He kind of had a little bit of an off week last week, but I still think that since he had a bad week or underperforming week, he is due for a bounce back. I know the Colts defense is pretty good, especially with that acquisition of DeForest Buckner from San Francisco, but I still think that the Colts won't be able to stop Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, or Aaron Rodgers.
I agree.
All right, Nick, let's get into our bust. Who do you think's in the bust and why?
I'm going with Phillip Rivers. You mentioned it here already. He's regressing really hard. I think it's time for him to hang up the cleats. He's had an amazing career. I think it's time for him to sip some margaritas by the beachside and just have some fun. I think he's done throwing the football.
He should treat every day like a Saturday, Nick. Go into retirement, man.
Yep.
My bust is T.Y. Hilton. He's having a bad year, which was expected last year because of Andrew Luck's surprise retirement. But I thought with the acquisition of Phillip Rivers, he'd have a bounce back year, and it's just not happening. He hasn't received for 100 yards in I think 18 games. He hasn't caught a touchdown in 10 or something like that, maybe 8. But he's just been having a bad year, and he'll have Jair Alexander on him, who is a very underrated corner. I think he'll get clamped, and the Colts won't be thrown to T.Y. Hilton, excuse me. But yeah, that's that.
I agree completely. And, it's just, it leads right into the next segment. For me, at least, I easily think that the Packers are going to win this game just because their offense is good enough. They're great, but they're good enough to play well against a great defense in the Colts to score 17-3. And I think they're going to win 17-3.
I agree with you 100%, Nick. I think the Packers are going to win 20-13, but I agree their offense is good enough to score on a tough defense, and the Colts offense won't get anything done against the Packers.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So we got the last non-primetime game, the last game, and I guess the 4:00 EST time slot. We got the Dallas Cowboys against the Minnesota Vikings. Let me start this one off, Nick. Will Andy Dalton play? Or are they going to start Gilbert? Who knows? And this is going to be a clear explanation, showing, of Dalvin Cook, who is having an Adrian Peterson-like year in Minnesota. They sure know how to draft running backs in Minnesota as well. But the Cowboys, they were, in my opinion, favorites to win the NFC East with Dak Prescott at home. He showed people why he is good. And even with the Cowboys, every time the Cowboys lose, you just think, man, could they have won with Dak Prescott? Could they have won?
Yeah, the fact that he went down when he did, even as a Giants fan, that was really hard to see. And it's really sad to see a guy that was playing at such a high level go down. And to look at what that did to that team, it totally made them do a 180, and they're no one now. I would hate to see this team play against the Jets because I couldn't imagine who would win.
Yeah, and going into the season, I'm not gonna lie, I was a Dak Prescott hater. I thought he was overrated. But this year it really made me open my eyes and be like, wow, Dak is a really good quarterback, and he really is the real deal. He is definitely a top 10 quarterback. And the question is, will he stay in Dallas? Because he is a free agent coming off of a gruesome leg injury, not as bad as Alex Smith's, but still a bad injury. Will he re-sign with Dallas, or will he go somewhere to a team that needs a quarterback like Indianapolis if Rivers retires, or New Orleans if Drew Brees retires? What are your thoughts on that, Nick?
Dallas, they don't have a lot of money. They paid Cooper. They paid Elliott, I think.
Marcus Lawrence too.
Yep. They don't have the money. I could easily see Dak Prescott leaving. And it's just weird to see, in my mind at least, Dak Prescott in a uniform that's not the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how they're going to come up with the money to pay him.
Yeah, he definitely was their face of the franchise after Romo left. And it just sucks to see someone like him go down like that. He's a class act off the field. I know his mother passed away of breast cancer, which is awful. And his I believe, killed himself, which is just awful. And it just proves that people, even though Dak Prescott's famous and he's a millionaire, you don't know what's going on in his head. You don't know what is if he's depressed or not. And kind of like with DeMar DeRozan, I know this is a little off topic, but basketball player. It's just about like mental health, and that you don't know, even though they're athletes, they still experience mental health. And Dak Prescott's had one hell of a life, tough life, and I want nothing for him to succeed wherever he goes in his future team. He's had a tough life, and it's very sad. It almost makes me want to cry. Honestly, it's awful. But let's make it a little bit more positive. All prayers to Dak Prescott. Hopefully, he gets a speedy recovery. Hopefully, he gets that bank. Not that Patrick Mahomes money though, but I wish Dak nothing but the best of the rest of his career. Hopefully, he wins comeback player of the year next year. But back on to our prediction with the Vikings. I'll give my boom first. I think Justin Jefferson against a weak Cowboys defense will ball out. He is, in my opinion, the best rookie wide receiver, and he is just filling in Stephon Diggs' shoes well. They needed another cut wide receiver too with Diggs out. They had Thielen as their clear number one, but I think Justin Jefferson has been balling out for a rookie, and he is showing people why he should have been taken where Henry Ruggs was taken for the Raiders. What about you, Nick?
So my boom is Dalvin Cook here. I feel like it's a pretty easy boom, but with the exception of this game that just happened last night for us, he has been unbelievable. It's the Minnesota Dalvin Cooks that we're watching, and it's going to continue against a very poor defense.
And before we get to the bust, we are seeing how good Dalvin Cook can be when he is healthy.
Yep.
Because he stayed healthy and he's putting up numbers. My bust is Ezekiel Elliott, and I feel like he is definitely having a bad year, no doubt about it. And this is his first bad year in his great career so far. But I feel like Zeke is going to continue to go in a slump. Hopefully he does have a bounce back week, though. The Ohio State product, but I don't think he will.
Yeah, and I'm for me, it's going to be Amari Cooper. He's also having a down year. A part of that is due to poor quarterback play since Dak went down. But, the targets aren't there for him either anymore. CeeDee Lamb, you talk about great rookie receivers. Before Dak went down, you could have argued that CeeDee Lamb was just as good, if not better, than what Justin Jefferson has been doing. So the targets are there for everyone. There's only so much to go around, and I haven't seen it for him all year. I think that continues with this game.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that one.
Yeah.
My pick to win is the Vikings 27-14. I just think, like Nick said, it's the Minnesota Dalvin Cook show coming to you this Sunday at 4:25 EST. He will be running all over this team. I don't think the Cowboys have any chance of stopping him. And if they somehow do stop him, you still got Kirk Cousins with Jefferson Thielen and Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, and for me, I'm going to go with the Vikings here as well, with the score of 24-10. I just think that, everything's starting to click for the Vikings at the right time, and it couldn't be more of a dumpster fire for the Cowboys right now, unfortunately. So I could see them winning easily here.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got 2 games left. Let's get to the second primetime game, Sunday Night Football on NBC. We got a battle out west, which is a surprisingly tight AFC West race. I mean, I know for me personally, I didn't think this would be close at all. No. But it is. It is. We got the Chiefs, who in my opinion are the best team in the league, even though the Steelers are undefeated, against a very surprising Las Vegas. Let me turn to Chris Berman for a second. Raiders team. So when the Raiders are good, I feel like I saw this, I think, on the First Take with Max Common. He's like, the Dolphins and the Raiders are very similar, where I feel like it's just better when the Dolphins or Raiders are good because they're like popular, low-key popular teams. They're not the Cowboys, but like they're like older teams that were good like in the 70s and 80s with John Madden for the Raiders and Larry Zonka and them for the Dolphins. And the Raiders are having a great year, all apart due to Waller and Jacobs.
Yep.
Simple as that. Darren Waller, who I have in fantasy, top 3 tight end, no debate. He's up there with Kittle and Travis Kelce. And with Kittle being out, I would say he's a top 2 tight end. And Travis Kelce on the opposite side of the ball is undeniably the best tight end this year with Kittle being out. And this is going to be an offensive game, but very low key because obviously we all know about the Chiefs, Mahomes, Hill, Watkins, Hardman, Le'Veon Bell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm naming off a Pro Bowl team. Mitchell Schwartz, Travis Kelce. It's funny how good this offense really is. They proved to us last year that defenses no longer win championships in the NFL when they beat the 49ers, who had supposedly the best defense potentially of all time. Like, let's be honest. Like, people were going off on this defense, and Patrick Mahomes said, 21 points in 1 quarter. See you later. I get the championship.
Now give me that $500 million contract.
Oh, yeah. Give me the biggest contract in sports history, please. Yep. But the Raiders did beat the Chiefs. We can't deny that. The Raiders are legit. And if the Raiders win this game, they'll be 1 game behind the Chiefs. So what do you think about this one, Nick? What do you think about the Raiders and the Chiefs game on Sunday night?
This is one of the best games of the week to watch. This is one of the best Sunday night football games to watch all season. This is going to be a fun one. the Raiders are really good, surprisingly good. Like you said, Josh Jacobs' show, Darren Waller's show. When they get going, they get ahead of steam. They're as good as anyone in the league. They beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. They could do it again. We'll see. But it's just how this is so fun. This one is such a fun game. How could you not be excited for this matchup?
Oh, 100%. We're going to have two speed demons, too, with Hill and Henry Ruggs. I hope to have a race before or after the game to see who's faster.
Yeah,
That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But the Raiders' main weakness, besides both of these teams have very underwhelming defenses. I would say the Chiefs is better because they have Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu. But the Raiders don't really have any good receivers. I mean, Nelson Aguilar is having a phenomenal season coming off of disappointing years in Philly. Yeah, he was had bricks for hands. I mean, he was not reliable at all. And he's basically to the 180. He's having a great year. And Henry Ruggs has been kind of underwhelming. He had a really good game against the Chiefs last time, so we'll see if he can replicate that. But this will be a fun one, like you said. And before I forget, the Raiders have one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in football with Trent Brown, Rodney Hudson, Richie Incognito, Gabe Jackson. Like, this offensive line is legit. Yep. Like their whole team. It's awesome. So who was your boom candidate for the week, Nick?
So my boom this week is going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He started the season out really strong that first game of the year. We haven't seen a lot from him since. He's been kind of quiet. The Le'Veon Bell signing, thinking he wasn't going to get the touches. Le'Veon Bell, all due respect, he has not been that great since joining the Chiefs. So I think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is due for a big game, and I think we're finally going to see it.
Mm-hmm. My boom, a little biased here because he's on my team, but Darren Waller, like I said, he's having a career year, underrated top 3 tight end in the league. Like I said, criminally underrated. And his story really inspires me. He kind of like Dak Prescott, he struggled with addiction and drugs, and he's sober now. And he just proved that, like, if you have that drive, you have that commitment, you have that goal, you can do whatever you want. And how can you not be inspired by someone with that story? It's just very, very motivational. So great player.
Hats off to Waller.
What did you say?
Hats off to Darren Waller.
Oh yeah, because it's not easy going through that stuff, And he not only did he overcome it, but now he's a star football player. So it's like crazy, Yep. So like Nick said, hats off to you, Darren Waller. If you're listening to this, shout out to you. And continue your great road, Continue having a great career, great life. Who is your bust, Nick?
So for me, my bust of the week, it pains me to say this because he's one of my favorite players. I liked him as a rookie, is going to be Josh Jacobs. I say this because I think the Raiders are going to have to abandon the run early. I think the Chiefs are going to get up by a lot of points early, and you're going to have to see Derek Carr go out there and just ball out in order to keep them in this game. The other thing you'll notice when watching Josh Jacobs, he's a script back. What that means is they have a plan for him, and if they have to abandon that plan, then he doesn't have the performance he normally does. If they have to stop running the ball on a normal basis, then you're going to see less output, less performance from him, and I could easily see that happening this game.
Yeah, my pick is another running back. Not Clyde Edwards-Helaire. My God, not Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Jeez, it's a lot to say, tongue twister. But Le'Veon Bell. And like Nick said, I feel like Le'Veon Bell has been very underperforming since he joined Kansas City. People were saying he would overtake Clyde Edwards-Helaire for RB1, but I still feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still a running RB1 in Kansas City, and Le'Veon Bell is just not showing his form. You think he would with such a good offense, but he is not proving to be like the 2015 or 2016 Le'Veon Bell with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I bet he wishes he signed that contract with the Steelers all those years ago now.
Oh, yeah. Adele, for sure. For sure. Who is your pick to win and why?
I'm going with Kansas City here, 31-21. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think Kansas City is going to win this one. I think you said it earlier. Your coach told you You can't beat a good team twice, and that's what we're going to see here.
Oh yeah, 100%. As much as I love the Raiders, I think Vegas is the real deal. Their first season in Vegas, and they're proving to be very good. Yeah, I remember when they were 2-0, people were like the Las Vegas still hasn't lost yet. They're undefeated in team history, and they're having one of the best years since they made the playoffs with like Khalil Mack in them. So it was like 4 years ago when they were still in Oakland. But as much as they're having a good year, I still think Vegas will lose this game. Like Nick said, hard to beat a good team twice. 35-31 Kansas City. I'll never shoot out, but I think Mahomes will bounce back because he did not play well against the Raiders the first time as well either. So I think Mahomes will bounce back. Their whole offense is just going to beat the Raiders in a good shootout and a fun game to watch on Sunday night.
Definitely.
All right. Last game of week 11. Monday night on ESPN. We got the Rams, the LA Rams, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rams are 6-3 and the Buccaneers are 7-3. What are your thoughts on this game, Nick?
So I don't think the Buccaneers are as good as their record shows. I think the Rams defense is really good. They're really tough. So the question here is, will Brady play well against this surprisingly tough Rams defense? We'll see what happens. I'm not confident in the Buccaneers in this game, but who knows? We'll see. Tom Brady is the quote unquote GOAT for a reason, and he shows up when he needs to. So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think the Rams, from when they went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, their whole team has just literally done a whole 180. Like, when they went to the Super Bowl, they had this crazy offense led by Todd Gurley and Woods and Cooks and Kupp. And now of those four, two of them aren't even on the team anymore. Now their team is all, I don't want to say all defense, but their defense is obviously better than their offense. I mean, you top two players. You got a top two corner and Jalen Ramsey, potentially number one because Gilmore's having a bad year. And undeniably the best pass rusher in the NFL, Aaron Donald. So, I mean, it's just crazy how, like I said, their team changed over the last 2 years, you know? I just never expected the Rams to go over this drastic change. And I remember when we were talking about the Rams when they went to the Super Bowl, you said they won't be good for, like, they'll be good for, like, 2 years and they won't be good anymore because they had so many free agents. Like, they had Sue and, now I'm blanking.
They were playing money too.
What did you say you cut out?
It was guys that they were paying a ton of money to at the time that they weren't going to be able to keep there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think they traded some away and they got Jalen Ramsey out of it, not out of trading players away, but, you know, trading picks and stuff. And they kept Aaron Donald. And it looks like that's all they need. You get two cornerstones like that and you're set for a minute.
Yep.
But who do you think's going to boom this week and why?
So my boom for the week, I'm actually going to go with Jared Goff, believe it or not. I think he's having an under-the-radar decent season. You know, if you are a fantasy football player and you like to pay attention to matchups and especially playoff bracket, go look and see what Jared Goff's playoff schedule looks like. He is going to have a great playoff schedule for fantasy. And I know it's a little early to talk playoffs, but I could see that starting this week.
Do you mean like you say playoffs? Do you mean fantasy playoffs or like?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's fantasy playoff schedule. I don't mean real playoff.
Oh yeah, I figured you were talking about fantasy playoff schedule, but when you said he's got a good schedule, I thought you meant like the Rams are going to make the playoffs and have a good schedule like in the playoffs.
Playoff schedule is excellent if you look at the matchups he plays during the weeks that fantasy playoffs are played.
Yep, Jets, Seahawks, and Cardinals are the last 3 weeks. So yep, they do have that Jets game, man. I don't know. My boom is Cooper Kupp, who, in my opinion, is a top 2 slot receiver, and kind of like Jared Goff, he's having a very under the radar year, and he gets a lot of targets. I know when we were talking about this when we were writing this, Nick, you said that he does get a lot of targets, which in my opinion is kind of odd for a slot receiver. It's a general rule of thumb that your slot receiver is not your number one target. But Cooper Kupp has just thrown that out the window because he's talented. Simple as that. So I like Cooper Kupp. I think he's a great receiver, very underrated. And it seems like him and Jared Goff are going to be the 1-2 punch in LA for the time being. Definitely down the road, it will be the 1-2.
Yep.
Who's your bust and why?
So my bust for this game, I'm going with the elite Hall of Fame wide receiver, Mike Evans. I don't like his target share that he's been getting with Tom Brady at the helm. They have a lot of pieces. They've got Godwin, Gronk is there. Now they have Antonio Brown. There's a lot of people there, and there's only so many targets to go around. And I don't know why. He just doesn't seem to like throwing the ball a lot to Mike Evans. He did this past week, which was nice to see. But I could easily see that not happening this week. And you can't forget to mention that the Rams have Jalen Ramsey. So, I could easily see this not going well for Mike Evans.
100%. I got, as my bust, another wide receiver. Not on the Buccaneers, though. I got Robert Woods. I feel like Cooper Kupp will be taking a lot of his targets away from him. And I feel like that Robert Woods is just – he's solid, but like Cooper Kupp is just better than him in a lot of ways. And I feel like that if they throw it in the goal line, they're going to throw it to either Tyler Higbee or Gerald Everett. And they don't really have a reason to throw it to Robert Woods, in my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong. I hope he has a good game because, Robert Woods, he played for Buffalo. And, I like the Bills. But who knows? But I hope he has a big game. But I just don't see it coming for Kupp in the home.
Yep, I can see that.
Who is your pick to win this game, Nick, and why?
The Rams in this one, 21-17. I just think that their defense is good enough to stop Tom Brady, and I think they're going to pull it out in the end.
Did you give the score or not? I don't know if
21.
You did.
Yep.
21-17. Yep. My pick is also the Rams. I think they're going to win 21-20. As good as Tom Brady is, I just think he'll get stifled. I mean, I know that's weird, Tom Brady getting stifled by a defense, but I just don't think the Patriots, the Buccaneers, will have a good game. And I feel like Aaron Donald's just gonna sack Tom Brady a couple of times, and Tom Brady is just gonna get hit a lot.
Yeah.
All right, guys. To wrap up, Gridiron Talk Week 1 or Week 11, but the first episode, me and Nick are gonna give our game to watch, which is basically simple as that. Like our favorite game to watch. It's gonna be a good game and might have some underlying story with it. What is your game of the week to watch, Nick, and why?
So for me, I'm going with the Eagles versus Browns here. The Eagles, they're in desperation mode. For them, it's basically a playoff game. And, there's nothing, when it comes to football, there's nothing more exciting to watch than a team that is backed into a corner and needs a win, that has talent, even though they haven't performed. They're getting healthy. It's time for them to show that they can play at a much higher level than what their record shows. So I think it'll be a fun one, no doubt.
Yeah, I definitely could see that happening. It'll be a good game both sides. The Browns, I feel like if they need the win to stay alive in the tough wild card race in the AFC, and the Eagles, like you said, they need to win this. It's like a playoff game. The Giants are right behind them for the division crown now, surprisingly, and it's almost like no more playing games. Like time to step it up,
Yep.
My game of the week to watch is the Sunday night game of the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders, and it's prime time, so obviously people are going to be watching it. There's a reason why it's on at 8 o'clock on Sunday. Playoff implications are big in this one because there's only one first-round bye with 7 teams in the playoffs. I personally think that's really stupid. I don't think the first overall seed should have a bye and home field advantage. But, that's another story for another day. But the Chiefs, if they want to stay up with the Steelers, as most likely they will win this week, they need to win, so they only stay one game behind them. And the Raiders walling in to get that first seed, not the first seed, the division crown. If they win this game, there will only be one game behind them. And the Raiders are legit, like we already said. So the Raiders should aim for a tough victory here if they can pull it out. Like I said, I still think the Chiefs are going to win, but I think it'll be a good game. And like I said, when we were talking about it, it'll be a shootout. It'll be 2 offenses going back and forth. Carr to Ruggs, Carr to Waller, Mahomes to Hill, Mahomes to Kelsey. It'll be a fun game to watch.
Absolutely.
So, guys, that wraps up Gridiron Talk Episode 1. Me and Nick will be back next week for Week 12 around the middle of the week, either next Tuesday or next Wednesday. Isn't next week Thanksgiving, though?
Yes, I believe it is. So we'll figure that out.
We will figure it out. We know that on Thanksgiving, it's kind of crazy because there is technically 3 primetime games because there's 3 Thursday games and the 2 Sunday and Monday nights. So there's going to be 5 primetime games next week. So regardless of that, that's going to be fun to watch. Always good to watch the football team and the Washington football team. Let me specify that. Washington and Detroit. Always fun to watch them on Thanksgiving. And hopefully we get that. But yeah, so like I said, we'll be back next week. I know Thanksgiving is next week, so we'll be back. I hope all the listeners, you guys have a great rest of your week. Don't forget to watch some football this week and stay safe with COVID going around. I know there's some spikes going around, so stay safe. So yeah, any last words, Nick?
Just everyone have a good week. Let's get excited to watch some football. Everyone take care, be safe, and I'll throw a little nod in there to the Giants. Let's go Big Blue.
Oh yeah, let's go Big Blue, man. Let's see if they can pull out the division win. It's funny because the Giants have a bye this week, so we didn't get to be biased towards the Giants. So
just you guys wait.
Oh yeah, next week when they play the Bengals, man, let me just say I'm going all in on the Giants, man.
In 62-3.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's gonna prove why he's a bust. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. If you like the podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to like the video, comment, and share it with your friends. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.